Hey guys, I'm back, and yeah, I'll be talking about Magic the Gathering in this video. And Magic the Gathering. This is pretty much my favorite card game outside of Force of Will. And with that being said, I have like one major problem with Magic the Gathering when compared to like other card games like Pokemon and Force of Will. Is that it's too freaking expensive. Too expensive. And this is pretty much my main issue with Magic the Gathering as a trading card game. It's too freaking expensive. And yes, I know it's 20 plus years old, and with that being said, the prices are like, what? Pretty much having to put sometimes, a down payment on a house to buy like 4 copies of a single card or whatever else. Yeah. And whereas full art cards like this are not an issue, pretty much go like pennies. Go figure. Now, that being said, Magic the Gathering, that's pretty much my main and only issue, is pretty much how expensive it is. Where some high tier decks like its standard go up to like $700 at most, and that to me is a bad thing. Since, the decks will last like 6 months to a year at most. And same thing within Force of Will and Pokemon, since they pretty much got it from Magic Gathering, I think, with the rotation of a singular format. Or two, at least, I don't know. We'll just have to see with Force of Will. Hope I call that right. Anyways, and speaking of which, it's like, with Pokemon, I'm pretty sure the top main decks that you'll be seeing aren't as expensive as Magic the Gathering. And now with Force Will, it's pretty much the same thing. Top tier decks in Force Will are like $200 to $250 at the very most, from my knowledge, anyways, which is budget in Magic the Gathering's terms. And getting into another point about Magic the Gathering is Legacy and Vintage. Legacy and Vintage are two formats that I will never play ever unless, for some miracle I get a job in like freaking rocket scientist or anything. Pretty much, Legacy and Vintage and Magic the Gathering are two formats where it's pretty much you are pretty much the decks where are pretty much status symbols. Pretty much you'll be spending thousands of dollars, no joke, in cards, which leads into another point: the reserve list. To me, and to a friend of mine too, the reserve list is just plain stupid. So let me go into the reserve list. The reserve list is pretty much where cards will not be reprinted. Never. They will just never be reprinted. I don't know why Wizards of the Coast thought this was a good idea. I don't know what's going on through their heads, but Wizards really needs to get through this. And getting back to Legacy and Vintage, my points there is pretty much people like me who pretty much have a severely limited budget cannot play Legacy and Vintage because of the reserve list. Yes, I know there are some cards that on some decks that don't use the reserve list cards. I get that, but to even remotely stand a chance, I guess, in Legacy and/or Vintage, you pretty much need the fucking reserve list cards. To me, the reserve list needs to go. Just needs to go because the cards there will be pretty much what was it, at least a few hundred to a few $1,000s. Not even joking. You can go on like eBay or anything else. See, hey, in terms of prices. I'd rather, it's like sacrifice an arm and a leg because, why not? Which is pretty much like, here's an entire year's of my pay just to get one card from this, which again is just plain stupid. And with that, I don't play Legacy and or Vintage. I just play casual decks, as you all have already seen in the my videos. Now, that's like the only problem I have with Legacy and Vintage. And Magic the Gathering as a whole, it's too freaking expensive. And y'all think that Yu-Gi-Oh's expensive. Get into Magic and you'll see. And that's why I'm leaning towards, Pokemon and Force of Will as my main sources of content on this channel as of late, instead of, just these three games in general. So yeah. And also, I'll be trying to incorporate new cards from new sets and whatever, but yeah. And also, don't ask for, modern or legacy decks, alright? Because I can't afford them as of this moment, so personal reasons. And for the reasons that I've said already, because the game is too freaking expensive. So, yeah. That's pretty much it for now, you guys, so see y'all later. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all later.